It is bad to be alone.
Alone. Bad. Friend. Good. Friend.
Hi everybody, Paul here from Ballistic Blood Bullets. 'Tis the month of Halloween, a time for ghouls, ghosts and universal monsters. The original Titans of Terror released upon Blu-ray to appreciative audiences of old and new alike. And the Universal Studios classic monsters are finally unleashed in high definition in the first of an anticipated yearly release series of some seriously great old school horror originals. So have I been looking forward to this. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. The old classics, memories of being a young boy growing up watching horror on late night TV, double bills of the classic Universal monsters and such like. They were absolutely riveting stuff, even from a very, very early age. Who cannot forget classic creature features like the creature from the Black Lagoon? And you got the likes of Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, Claude Rains, Lon Chaney Jr., just to name a handful, and they're all covered in this fantastic Blu-ray release. And it is, in this edition from the UK, a UK PAL region free set. Something to revel in, undoubtedly. Now this same set I know is being released the world over, and there is the equivalent of course in the United States as well, so we are all pretty much getting this release at the same time. But it is, as I say, such a delight and definitely something to revel in. So let's have a look at the box set itself, and it is a mighty, mighty box set. Here we go. Classic pictures of the icons of horror cinema from the Universal Studios. This of course right here on the front page of the interior of the box set is of course none other than Boris Karloff. And this is a classic scene from, of course, The Mummy, one of the daddies of the original horror films. Now let's open this up, get a good look at what we actually have, just to try and pan back and get the image of the first interior shots. Here we have Claude Rains in what is one of the creepiest of the original Universal horror movies. Of course, The Invisible Man. Who hasn't seen The Invisible Man? But there again, who has seen The Invisible Man? Claude Rains though in this is absolutely spot on. A brilliant, brilliant performance. Here of course we also have one of the original actors of Dracula, the first talkies actor of on-screen Dracula. Count Dracula of course here is Bela Lugosi, and that is his creepy castle mansion of the living dead, the vampires of course. And let's open it up to its full extent, and inside we have no less than 8 high definition mastered Blu-rays of the first release from Universal in this series, which I believe is going to be released every year around Halloween time. And what better time to do so? And these really are some very well done cover art to the Blu-ray discs themselves. Very, very nicely done. There is no skimping here at all. They have released these for the fans of these original wonderful golden era of horror classics from the early 30s right through until the 50s with, of course, The Creature from the Black Lagoon. More on that in a moment as well, because there is something particularly special about this particular release of the film. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. Really am enthralled by this. It is very, very well done indeed. What we have, as I say, is 8 Blu-ray discs, excuse me, each containing one Universal classic horror movie, along with a mouth-watering array of ghoulish goodies as extras, all digitally restored to their original former glory and better. Can relive the hide behind your hands as a child, a youngster, a kid, wanting to watch these old horror movies. So peeking out between your frozen stiff fingers at the horror sights of Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, The Mummy, The Wolfman, The Invisible Man, The Phantom of the Opera, and perhaps here in this set, most salaciously of all, is The Creature from the Black Lagoon. And the specialness of this is because it's released here in 3D, offered up indeed in a true 3D format to leap out of our home cinema large screen 3Ds, movie screens, and those who do not, however, yet have a 3D TV. If ever there was a time to decide to get one, this just may well be the best reason to do so. Not just the 3D movie, but a retrospective documentary of the film, a trip down and around the old Universal Studio lot, production photographs, feature commentary, and a neat trailer gallery of all 3 of the famous Creature from the Black Lagoon films. Yes, there are 3. A lot of people seem to think there's just 1, some know there's 2, but there are. And there were made 3 Creature from the Black Lagoon films. And if ever a modern day remake of a classic horror film is justified, then The Creature from the Black Lagoon surely must be it. The advancement of movie making and modern day 3D is perfect for this film. Just be sure to please stick to the man in a monster suit though. No CGI for this movie. Please, if you're watching, listen. Producers, filmmakers, this is a great film to remake, but not in CGI. We cannot have a CGI monster. It's got to be one of the very best man in a monster movies, and hopefully starts a new wave of the Black Lagoon and horror creatures. The Creature from the Black Lagoon in 3D here is an undeniable personal reason to get excited about for me, but so too is revisiting all of the fantastic Universal horror greats and the stars and directors that brought them to life. Most pertinently, of course, director James Whale breathing life into the Frankenstein monster back in 1931 by the iconic Boris Karloff in the lead, who before this major break in his career had already amazingly, astoundingly appeared in over 80 movies before getting this huge break. And he was a gentleman of 44 years of age when he first played Frankenstein's monster. It truly is hard to believe. He had one of those lived-in faces that for 20 years plus never seemed to age. He seemed an older gentleman when he was young, but remained looking that way for a long time. He was transformed into the bolt-necked creature. So successful was the movie that The Bride of Frankenstein followed and was made in 1935. And James Whale returned to direct the now very much sought after horror star Boris Karloff, along once again with Colin Clive as the tormented and tortured Dr. Frankenstein. And a new queen of horror rose up, Elsa Lanchester, as the titular bride of Frankenstein. These are just some of the cards, and this is what comes with the set. And here is the mighty The Bride of Frankenstein. Here we have the Phantom of the Opera, proudly proclaimed as being in Technicolor. Most of the films in this set are, of course, in black and white, but the grain, the image, the true spectacle of these films is captured in high definition. No loss of quality, and if anything, there is truly an enhancement of the quality. It is absolutely splendid to be able to say that we can, in this day and age, have these great movies of horror cinema brought back to us in spectacular fashion, looking even better than perhaps when they were originally released. Now, just getting back to Elsa Lankenstein. Elsa Lankenstein? Elsa Lancaster. That would be quite a name, wouldn't it? Lankenstein. Elsa Lancaster as the Bride of Frankenstein. She is so memorable in the role, and herself is no stranger to horror movies, as she was long time married to great character actor Charles Laughton, who himself was famous for such horror roles in classics as Island of Lost Souls and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Can you imagine their wedding day vows? The bells, dear! The bells! The bells! I should be told off for that bell joke. Now, turning to Dracula, Bela Lugosi. Brilliant, brilliant. Such an associative part of the great Dracula from Universal Studios. Dracula here is resplendent in this fabulous collection of movies, starring, as I say, of course, Bela Lugosi, who is always remembered for his role as Dracula. But in reality, he actually only officially played Count Dracula on screen twice. Here in 1931, and then not until many years later did he reprise the role that made him famous as Dracula in 1948, some 17 years later. And that was in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Now, the very popular comedy duo of Abbott and Costello do actually, and are actually, at the time, were responsible in large part for the repopularising of the Universal horror monsters during the mid to late 1940s, as they came up against them all of the classic monsters with great reverence. It was comedy time and it was fun, but there was a true respectful reverence for the classic horror monsters, and it was a genuine hybrid of horror and comedy, and it produced big box office success. Let's just look at a few more of these wonderful cards that do come with the set, because this after all is about the set that we're looking at and talking about, and this is the original Frankenstein movie from 1931 starring Colin Clive as Frankenstein, and of course Frankenstein's monster Boris Karloff. Here we have very nice vibrant colour reproduction of the Invisible Man. H.G. Wells' classic story of the iconic creature, almost. He is a creature, the Invisible Man, because his mild-mannered character as a scientist seeking a serum for invisibility ultimately drives him insane. Here we have Boris Karloff again in The Mummy, one that no longer is kept under wraps. It's here for us all to see and enjoy. Karloff really was one of the all-time greats, wasn't he? Fantastic. Do let me know what your thoughts are on all of these films. If you've seen them before, if you've never seen them, what your thoughts are about having seen them, how many times you've seen them, when you first watched them, how old were you, and if you haven't watched them at all, have you heard about them from friends, family? Let me know what your thoughts are, and is there any one particular that you're looking forward to, like myself, experiencing the creature from the Black Lagoon in 3D? That is going to be monsterific for sure. And here, another of the greats that we will talk about momentarily is, of course, the Wolfman. That sight of Lon Chaney Jr. turning into the Wolfman when I was about 7-8 years of age used to scare the heck out of me. A hairsuit horror, without question, used to terrify me to death. And it still holds up extremely well today, and is definitely better than the recent attempts at doing Wolfman films, which are predominantly in CGI. The stop motion effects of changing into the Wolfman, they may look dated, but they are still the best transformation for me. Outside perhaps of an American Werewolf in London, which it must be said was truly awesome, and there are some other greats as well, but you just can't beat the old style, the old transformation. It was truly wonderful. Now, with, of course, The Invisible Man, as I say, starred Claude Rains, and London, England-born Claude Rains was indeed another of the memorable Universal horror stars. And here he is representative in 3 of these movies, incredibly. He really was quite prolific along with the others. He appears here in The Invisible Man, The Wolfman, and The Phantom of the Opera. A truly gifted actor whose talent was adept across the range of not just horror, but historical period pieces, comedy, and psychological drama. A well-spoken gentleman and always engaging on screen. Such a great persona up on that big screen. And the Wolfman, he of course appears alongside another giant of classic horror cinema, and that is of course Lon Chaney Jr., who himself of course was the son of the great and mighty and true icon of horror cinema, Lon Chaney. Lon Chaney Sr., of course, is known even today by those who are fledgling when it comes to watching horror and film, but they know of Lon Chaney, or anybody that professes to know about film should do. He is a real, genuine, classic performer and a very, very important part of early cinema. Lon Chaney, rightfully dubbed as the man of 1,000 faces. His adroitness and adeptness for doing makeup, of which he profoundly did himself most of the time, was just stunning. And Lon Chaney passed his trade down to his son, Lon Chaney Jr., who himself made a horror household name for himself. And it is the Wolfman, as Lawrence Talbot, that he will be best remembered for. This really is an absolute value for money, fantastic set. Absolutely, absolutely fantastic. If we just move the cards to one side, I'll just give you a little sneak peek underneath as well, because not only do we have wonderful artwork on the discs, but behind each disc is also an iconic image still from the movie or movies. And this here, of course, is the Phantom of the Opera. But behind each and every Blu-ray disc in this fold-out set, there is another iconic image. And not only is there this fabulous fold-out set, you also get a very nicely done horror booklet. The original House of Horror, Universal, and a monster legacy. That is for sure. Great images inside. Lots of pages, lots of great artwork, lots of information pertaining to the films, to the stars, to the directors. I won't go through each page because this is something that for those of you who are just like myself looking forward to it, you want to experience for yourselves. There we are, just have a quick look here at again, the creature from the Black Lagoon. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. This really is something for the fans of these movies, and as I say, something for new audiences today to discover for themselves and revel in and truly enjoy. Absolute fantastic stuff from Universal, and that says it all. At the end of each movie it would come up saying a Universal picture, as it did at the beginning, and many a classic film came with that iconic motion symbol. Absolutely brilliant. Can't rave enough about this set. Absolutely fantastic. Just to cast a quick look over again and just reiterate that we have 8 classic Universal horror movies all here together in a great Blu-ray package. We salute you, Universal, and indeed joyfully so, and perhaps even now a little fearfully welcome you back into our homes, our hearts, and onto the high definition format. Truly now we can declare they're alive! They're alive! Thanks for watching. Take care, everybody. And don't forget to pull the bed cover over your head just to be safe. Bye for now.
She's alive! Alive!